Not all Spider-Men are born the same way. While you might be familiar with the Peter Parker of the main 616 Marvel Universe, there are others in the multiverse, like the serial-killing Spider-Man of Earth 51412, or the undead Spider-Man of Earth 666. But what do you know of Hobart Brown, the black, punk Spider-Man who led a revolution against the President of the United States, who, in this world, was actually the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn? And not only did Hobart Brown lead a revolution, but he successfully murdered Norman Osborn by smashing him in the head with his guitar and liberated the United States. The story of Hobart Brown is a story about one of the most rebellious Spider-Men in the multiverse, and it begins as most Spider-Man stories do. Hobie Brown was once a normal teenager, and he did what normal teenagers of Earth 138 did: listen to punk rock music and try to fight against the establishment. More than the main 616 universe, the world that Hobie Brown lived in was overrun with corporate corruption. The people of the planet watched commercials and consumed as much as they could just to fill the holes in their heart. Hobart couldn't buy into the mainstream cycle of work, shop, and die, so he was drawn into the fringe clubs of punk rock teenagers. After a radioactive spider bit him, he received the proportional powers of a spider and became this universe's Spider-Man. Unlike the Spider-Man of the main 616, Hobie Brown's sense of responsibility didn't simply mean fighting against common criminals on the street corner. He was destined to fight the system, to revolutionize society, and get rid of the corporations that were running the show. Teaming up with the Hulk of Earth 138 and an alternative version of Captain America that was actually this universe's version of the Flag Smasher, Spider-Punk regularly fought against Norman Osborn and his allies. But in this universe, Norman Osborn wasn't simply a green-faced supervillain with goblin powers. No, he was actually the President of the United States, and he wielded unimaginable power through his Thunderbolts law enforcers. Somehow, Osborn figured out how to take the Venom symbiote and imbue it in himself, and all of his other police officers. During a final confrontation in the streets, Hobart Brown unleashed the master plan that he and his teammates had spent countless days formulating. Decked out in a blue denim jacket and a Spider-Man mask that featured giant iron studs on the top of its mask, Spidey-Punk stood atop a city bus as the Venom-infused Thunderbolts prepared to take him on. President Norman Osborn, with his hair slicked back, stood in front of his lines. Looking every bit as smug as he did in the main 616 universe, Norman tried to plead with the punk rebels. Behind him, the Thunderbolts, decked out in police riot gear, slowly allowed the symbiote to roll over their bodies and take on that familiar black and white form. Even their German shepherds were possessed by Venom. "It had to be this way, Spider-Man," Norman shouted from across the makeshift no-man's land. "We're in the business of making America great again, and there's no room in it for you and your punks." And as he spoke, the Venom symbiote inched further and further up Norman Osborn's face, until it completely covered the president. The row of symbiote Thunderbolts behind him salivated as they looked at the punk army in front of them, hoping to devour them one by one. Captain Anarchy, the punk version of Captain America from this world, held his shield up high and shouted to the throng of protesters behind him, "Hold the line." As the Venom-imbued army, led by the President of the United States, Norman Osborn, descended on the last stronghold of punks, Hobie waited, biding his time for the perfect moment to strike. When the vicious symbiote legion was nearly on top of the rebels, Hobie swung open the doors of the truck beneath him and revealed an entire cargo hold filled with amplifiers. Raising a plastic pick into the air with his clenched fist, Spider-Punk leapt up, then violently swung the pick against his electric guitar, creating a massive punk sound wave that tore through the symbiote army. As the Venoms fled the battlefield, the punk rebels smashed through the Thunderbolts police officers. Little by little, they battered their enemy, until Spider-Punk found himself face to face with Norman Osborn. "It's going to take more than 3 chords to stop me," Norman taunted, as he withdrew a gold-plated revolver from his chest holster. Forced down by the power of Hobie's riffs, Norman looked up from the ground at Spider-Man and aimed a short pistol at Spider-Punk's chest. If Norman could just manage to fire a single round, he could put this entire revolution to rest and finally seize control of the world. After all, It was only punk rock and the rioters who made his presidency shaky. But Norman would never get the chance. Spider-Punk raised his electric guitar high above his head, sending the cable whipping around the air, and with a powerful forward strike, he smashed the instrument into Norman Osborn's head, severing it from his body. Overwhelmed by their victory, Spider-Punk reached for his mask and revealed his face, the face of Hobie Brown. The crowd around him raised their fists in solidarity to cheer on the revolution, and Hobie raised his guitar, soaking in the black remnants of Osborn's symbiote in solidarity. The Spider-Man of Earth 138 had succeeded where so many other Spider-Men had failed. He, in the end, defeated Norman Osborn.